Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Hey everyone, it is Tara from the Bold Money Revolution podcast, and we're running a special series with our clients around having them tell their story. We're doing case stories of what it looks like to, I think, actually tangibly, realistically succeed in a year is kind of, or in a period of time, because not everybody who has come on has been with us for a full year, but we're really looking to show the honest and transparent results that people get, no matter how big or how small they are, and really unpack, what was going on in their business when they decided to ask for help, because we understand that asking for help is often the biggest barrier. And then what transpired after they were supported through the Bold Profit Academy, or in Marie's case, both the Bold Profit Academy and the Bold Profit Academy Plus. So we are here with Marie Parks. Hey, Marie.
Hello.
She is half of the North Star messaging powerhouse duo. Marie, tell everybody what you do and who you work with.
Yeah. So we're a content marketing and content strategy boutique now firm. We work with largely service-based businesses earning 6 to 7 figures who are established, who are tired of content churn, and they're looking for more strategy. They're looking to fix their funnels, to be very strategic about their launches, and generally be strategic about their content so that the CEO can actually create content as the muse strikes, not because they're on the content hamster wheel of doom.
The content hamster wheel of doom. Now, the other fun thing I've been asking people, because the women in the Bold Profit Academy, I always say are like, they're established experts. They've often had professions or businesses or careers prior to starting a business. And what was your career prior to starting North Star Messaging?
Yeah. So I was a grant writer for nonprofits, moved into like a director of grant management and relationships with like foundations and corporations on behalf of nonprofits. I did that work for about 8 years. And then additionally, I kind of think we've been in business for 12 years. And so I think about our business in 2 phases. And the first phase is when we were kind of just taking any copywriting project. And so I feel that also is a part of my pre-career before we really figured out what our true area of service and niche is.
Yeah, more of a freelance type perspective than maybe the business that you have today.
Yes.
Is what I'm kind of hearing you say. And the reason why I've been asking people to share this is because, one, these are women who, if they were to go into and go back to work and to get a job, they would likely be making 6 figures. And yet at the same time, their business isn't quite paying them 6 figures, not paying them at all, right? And we're trying to figure out as women how to get paid like the experts that we are. Marie is smirking at me.
Yeah, this has been the question of ever, right? Which is one of the reasons your message has been so resonant for us and why we decided to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. How do we get paid, right? How do we get the money into the actual bank account? And so I've been having people share their stories, because the reality is 90% of women have had a dynamic professional career before starting their businesses. And they didn't start their businesses because they wanted some 8-figure Bali lifestyle dream business.
It is way too humid there.
It's way too humid. Yeah. No, they've started their businesses out of necessity, out of wanting more autonomy and agency over their schedule, and which are all really important things, and to really get ahead economically. And at the same time, we're not quite there yet. So thank you for sharing that. And what's your aspiration for earning income independent of an employer? Why might you not be looking for a job right now?
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of reasons. I really value the time freedom that comes with being able to set my own schedule, to be able to say yes to the clients that I want to say yes to. I've been able to take a 4-week vacation from the business, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to be able to, honestly, for me, there's huge value in just being able to like run to the grocery store at 2 p.m.,
Okay. So can we just pause for a second? Because when I left corporate, the only thing I wanted to do was go to Trader Joe's at noon on a Monday.
Thank you. Yes.
That was my dream. and then people on the internet are talking about like these glass bottom huts in the Maldives. And I'm like, I don't fit in here.
Yeah. But what about the freezer aisle? I mean, come on.
Like, who doesn't want to go to Trader Joe's after it's been restocked after the weekend rush?
Correct. Thank you. Yeah,
Life goals.
Like, that is a legitimate, like, motivating factor, right? To be able to travel. Like, I love to go camping and like hang out and work from wherever, but like, it's nice to not have to ask permission for that, right? So that's part of it. Part of it too, I think, circling back to being able to say yes to the projects I want to say yes to is enormous. Like we've done a lot of work to get the business to this place, but I am obsessed with our clients. Like, they're all amazing. They're doing incredible work in the world. They're like deeply good people. They're experts also. And I just love working with them, love supporting them. And it's because we've been able to tailor our messaging and to be able to say no to projects that weren't a good fit for us. So that is enormously supportive for my like mental health, honestly.
Yeah. So, I was actually thinking about this the other day as well, because I've been in business for about 8 years, and there's definitely these fruits of our labor that we get to pick later down the road that we don't realize are there, maybe necessarily, or maybe we're trying to achieve them too soon. And it puts a lot of pressure on us. But there is something about building in the goodwill into your business where you've been nurturing it and taking care of it for a while. And then it starts to really give back to you, and you get to make different decisions about where you are, depending on, really the effort that you've put in along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So when you started working with me, we probably talked about a year ago, what was happening in your business? What was the urgency where you were like, I'd love support?
Yeah, our business was quite different, actually, despite having been in business for 12 years. Like, we're still always adjusting and adapting and finding our way. So where we were last year is we were sort of splitting our energy between 2 different buckets of clients. So one is the one that I mentioned, those, established service-based businesses. At the time, we were primarily focusing on copywriting support for them. We have a small team that includes writers and operational geniuses. And so that's been the bulk of our revenue and the bulk of our sort of labor costs. But we've also had this desire to give back, to provide community, to provide mentorship, and to provide coaching to writers, professional writers, because there aren't a whole lot of spaces like that. And also, we just have learned so much. We've refined so much. Like I said, that privilege of being able to work with just an incredible roster of clients. That's because we've worked through systems and built our boundaries and all those things that we wanted to convey all of that. So we were splitting our time and energy between building up both of these audiences in the hopes that the writer audience would become a bit more of a, one-to-many type of model, and that we would be able to add it as a significant revenue stream.
Yeah, I remember when we first had this conversation, I was like, the 2 of you are going to have to commit to focusing on one with me,
yes,
because I can't split my attention between the 2. They were too different. And so what were some of those early breakthroughs for you as we started working through some of this?
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing that you say a lot. And I think learning the truth of it is just as easy, if not easier, to sell a high ticket item as a low ticket item. And not only was it because of the nature of these writing programs that were like group programs, sort of testing the waters, they were priced fairly low they were priced in the 3-figure range. But additionally, there's a mindset, I think broadly among creatives, but certainly among writers, we're taught from an early age that, you're never going to make money doing this. You better have a plan B. Don't you want to go to law school, whatever. And so there's this real bootstrapping mentality within that audience. And despite the work that we were doing in terms of positioning, we were only getting a trickle of those people who actually had established copywriting businesses in our circle. That the vast majority of people had no revenue to support it and or had no mindset to support this idea of joining a community. And so, we had to take quite a hard look at where is our revenue actually coming from? Who values us? Right. And really double down on that. So that was, I think, a huge insight from those early days. Yeah, I know there were a lot more, but I think that was like the big turning point where we decided, it's okay to let this go, this new project go for a little bit, maybe forever.
Yeah. I've got an email that I'm sharing this week talking about pricing purgatory and how we have I don't know if it's just like service-based business owners, women, I don't know what it is, but there's so many of us that just want to help, right? Yeah. We want to be helpers and we want to make things accessible to the people who need the help, who need the support. And so we price things below what they should be priced at. And really, that just keeps us over delivering, undercharging, under earning. And what I realized is that people are like, oh, this is a recipe for burnout. This is a recipe for feeling not just burnout, but like used up.
Yeah. Used up and self-doubting. And like you're squandering everything, your time, your energy. And it is that question of, well, couldn't I go back and get a 9-to-5 job somewhere doing something like this that, would be more financially supportive?
Yeah. So at that time, you were like, okay, this is not a viable offer and audience right now. And I always like to say right now, because I think the desire for what you want to do is important. But we needed to get your oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
Right. So putting that idea down, and that was an important one to the two of you. And then I also remember, because I remember when you first came to me, you're like, is our business model just broken?
Oh yeah. That was the mantra.
Is this agency model broken? Is it going to work? And what did we uncovered some important things. What did we uncover?
There was a lot. And I guess backing up, I think part of the reason we were asking this question is we had grown the team. So therefore our payroll costs were quite high. And we're certainly not an inexpensive agency to work with, right? We had continually been raising our prices. I think some of this is economic, right? That like there's been a bit of a push between inflation. So therefore cost of living is going up. So therefore our team was asking for higher wages so that they could continue to live, their lives. And the other side of it is everything is going up, everything is going up. And so our clients were resisting the idea of paying more. So we were watching profit margins dwindle to the point where, to be honest, the first thing on the chopping block, we put ourselves on that chopping block. Not in terms of work. We were still working full time, but we weren't bringing home personal income, or at least not as much as we wanted and needed. And so that was a big part of it. I think part of it too is we discovered there are instances certainly of over delivering. There are instances of things that are nice to have, but they take an inordinate amount of time and the ROI is not there to justify that. So part of it was looking at the actual packages that we offer. Are there ways to systematize even better? Are there ways to just drop things altogether? Potentially outsource, right? So we looked at a lot of that. I'm probably forgetting steps. Are there other things that you're remembering? Because I know that.
Well, then we did the math on what it takes to pay two owners.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because you always say that you like to break up business partnerships, but I
do. So I'm known for breaking up business partnerships, but Marie and Jesse are the only ones that I'm allowing to stay together because I love them and I love their relationship together. But you really have to have the revenue, especially when you do those profit first numbers. You have to have the revenue to support two salaries.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And this is something that, we love profit first. We've read the book multiple times. I actually have that page where there's the chart of at this revenue amount, these are your percentages, the tap percentages, at this revenue amount, it shifts a little bit. And so I have that page stickied because we go to it all the time, but things are different when you have two business owners, and especially two business owners who are working actively. And this is their source of income. It's not that we're sort of, owners who have an operations manager and a president or whatever who are running the whole show on our behalf. So we definitely haven't gotten to the place yet where we are, essentially board members in our own company.
I think that conversation, when we got some real clarity around what you actually needed in terms of revenue to support the both of you, is where things got real. Because, and I remember, listen, I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. Every so often, people show up and I'm like, shit, how am I going to do this? How am I navigating this one? All right. And I saw it from when we first started, but you had to figure it out yourself. And it was like, okay, how am I going to lead them through a series of thought experiments so that they could see this for themselves? Because if I was if you guys got here and I was like, listen, you need to put down this writer shit. This isn't going to work. It's not going to bring in enough money. You'd be like, but we love the writers. Right. I know. It happens all the time. So through a series of thought experiments and implementation things and what I want to say about you and Jesse is man, what made me go shit was when you handed me your budget, you actually had a budget and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, we can't diet this sucker down any further. They've already done that. They've already cut.
Yes. In fact, I do want to say that was a win actually of our first month in the Bold Profit Academy, that we went through an exercise that you have. And I think it was 7,000. No, it was more than that. It was some amount of money that through putting things on annual pay and then cutting other things that we did not need to have. I'm talking about technology and other sort of ancillary support. It was $7,000, I think, over the course of the whole year that we were going to be saving through just making some swift changes in just what we were paying for.
Ones that you wouldn't even maybe see. So that's really the whole point of our onboarding, is to help women make back the initial, that first investment into the Bold Profit Academy through these exercises that we have you go through very quickly to make some quick shifts. And, I know for you, there were a couple. There was the saving, and there was you made some sales right out of the gates that really supported you in getting started.
Yes, absolutely. So, I think we were bolstered quite well, but you're right. At that point, after we did that and we looked at what are we paying for monthly that we could shift to annual, things like that, for savings. You're right. We were quite lean, and it didn't feel like there was much else that could go.
Yeah. So we needed to go make some serious money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we did a lot of work on selling and sales.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the things that you took away from from some of that work?
I think I've always felt like sales were not always. It's been a journey to get comfortable with sales, but for a while I felt comfortable with sales. But I think some of the things that I've really taken away to improve that even more is to have more tools for close listening, to understand, what, as you say, what is the job to be done, right? To just better understand where they're coming from. But secondly, I think one of the other huge takeaways is this idea of, we're missing out on opportunities to help people and sell to support them right when they first come in. That this whole system of nurture, 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 and then ask, they're going to have found someone else by then, especially if they have an urgent need. I mean, I think about this. I recently had a medical need. And so I reached out to several different doctors, still haven't heard back from them. This has been like over a week. But who I did hear back from was one of these like service providers online where they just connect you with the doctor and you pay probably a fee that's higher than I would pay at the doctor's office, but I got the support I needed right then. Right. And so like, it's that concept of, maybe it isn't a medical need that someone's having, if they just need, but certainly if they're coming to us with a launch coming up, like it does feel urgent, so being able to be responsive to them in their moment of reaching out is super important. And that can be totally automated and just keeping it simple, right? Just asking, like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Do you want to know more? Like, it doesn't have to be a 5-page email.
I know. I remember we're big on like conversational emails and starting conversations in the Bold Profit Academy and the Bold Profit Academy Plus. And I remember on a call in the Bold Profit Academy Plus, we were going through it and Jesse's literally writing the emails on the calls and sending them out. And a number of you did that and like got responses immediately. So there we are, we're sitting there and we've got responses coming in, yes, which is important, right? So I think that there's definitely been a shift for you there. And I do remember you both took kind of a market research approach, kind of like this job. What is the job, the main job that they're looking to do? What are we focusing on to refine?
Yes.
The offer, the message, the positioning that we already have, because if we refine it, it starts to convert better. And you have the numbers for that.
Yes. Happily, our conversion rate has improved quarter by quarter this year, steadily. We're at like 5% higher than we were at the beginning of the year. And it already was like quite a strong conversion rate. So
it was.
So, we're close to basically a 70% conversion rate at this point, which, I think it really speaks to the optimization and the refinement that we took away from those calls with you.
Yeah. And to be honest, if it was any higher, I'd start saying you needed to raise your prices.
Well, let us sell the new packages first.
So we did raise the prices.
Well, that's fair. That was the mind-blowing call.
Yes, let's talk about the big juicy win for you, Marie. Now, we've had these. And I think what's great about how we kind of work this up is I love the progression, right? We went from making some tiny shifts in that onboarding where you saved probably like $7,000 or whatever. Then we started refining with the jobs to be done and the messaging and the positioning. We decided that we were going to park the writer thing for a while because we, through the profit first lens, you got massive clarity on what needed to happen around the money.
Yeah.
Right. And then I have been steadily, gently, lovingly pushing the two of you.
So lovingly.
Probably since mid-year on selling and like not hard selling, but I've been on you hard about selling.
Yes.
Right. And like either bigger packages or like what was going to be what was the quickest and easiest way to get you to where you needed to be revenue wise. And then I don't know what happened, but you did something really bold. So just tell the story.
So, well, I remember the moment in which I sort of realized this needed to happen. So we were talking in one of the Bold Profit Academy Plus calls about that the new our new offers, that we were shifting away from copywriting being the primary offer into content strategy, because this is what our audience research yielded. This is what people want, and it's something we are equipped to do. And so at the highest VIP tier, they can still get copywriting, right? And so there's a number of clients we've been working with for years, but there's one in particular who is the biggest badass ever. She's amazing. And she's really just has an amazing message and has big plans for the future to get that message out more broadly. And has, I think, just a really wonderful business model to support that education. And so I was talking with you, Tara, about, well, what price do I need to offer? Because she really has too many needs to fit into our standard packages. So I need to build her a custom package. What is that going to look like? And it's sort of less about the package and more about what do I need for me personally to be able to support her at that high level, right?
Yes, but didn't she say she'd pay you double?
Yes.
She actually said to you.
She did volunteer that information to me. And
she's saying to you, so I want to say this. She was saying to you on a call, like how much she values you and how much she values your support and the results she gets from working with you, and that she would like happily pay you double. And then you started like talking yourself out of, like, as we all do, acknowledging that and receiving that. And I'm like, okay, wait, she's already said she would pay you double. That's how much she values your work. So let's look at your work and the value you provide through the lens that she's actually seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, she and I have such like mutual love for each other. And so, that really impacted me, when she said that. And also immediately, yes, I did go into self-doubt mode. But then on that call, we were talking about like, well, what would I need? Who would I need to be the person to make that happen? And so I was looking at like my personal income needs and suddenly realized like, I would like to ask her for more than that.
More than double. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I said that out loud, and you were like, okay. And so I'm like, okay.
Marie will never say anything out loud to me ever again. No.
Well, and here's the funny thing, because like after I end up like having that call with her, you're like, wow, you have balls. And I'm like, okay, hang on. I didn't know that this was a brave thing. If you had told me this was a brave thing, I would have been terrified.
Exactly.
Even more than I already was. to make this ask. So
let me recap, because we're laughing through this, because it really is. See how much fun we all have together?
Because
you all should join the Book Academy just because we have fun.
Oh, gosh.
So Marie, it dawns on Marie. I talk about finding your invisible leads. This is like such a good example of that, because she was a client, but you could be upserving her.
Yeah.
I call it upserving, not upselling. And part of finding those invisible opportunities, those invisible leads, is through upserving the clients that you already have who love you, adore you, and want more of you. Like they would just like take 3 of Marie, right? So she said that she would double it. Marie gave this some thought. We said, okay, well, what do you need?
Yeah.
Right. Just because she said she would double it didn't mean that Marie would want to do that work, or, as Marie uncovered, she needed more than that. So we start to talk through the value of what Marie provides through the lens of a $100,000 offer.
I'm like, my hands are sweaty right now, even thinking about it.
So if we go back and we listen to what Marie said at the very beginning of this episode, she said 3-figure offers to this writing group. So we took her from a 3-figure offer to a 6-figure offer.
Yes.
We've added zeros.
In less than a year.
Yeah. And we prepared you.
Yes.
I think we really prepared you for that conversation. And, I felt like we acknowledged and witnessed the fact that, yeah, that's a big ask.
Yeah. After I made it, maybe.
You know?
Yeah. And yeah, I think, right. Like just by a fluke of timing, immediately after that call, there was a call with us, like between us. And so you really kind of saw me come in on the back end of that. It was a conversation where she needed to think about it. And of course, I mean, this was a huge ask. But I think even like the support on the back end of that was so powerful, right? To just say like, hey, you did the thing, it's out there now. And what happens next? Right. And so like being really supported and shepherded through the aftercare, I guess, was also super valuable for me.
Yeah.
Because it
Well,
was enormously bold.
it was. But listen, when you're proposing packages and like that, it's not a one-step sales process.
Right.
Right. There's going to be some negotiation. And I said to you, I don't care even if you get the $100,000. It was the asking of the $100,000 where all of those lessons came in. And now we have data that we can work with to refine and hone that offer, a sales experience of that magnitude. And it changes everything for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
So
it
tell
creates
me,
opportunity and possibility, right?
It makes the offers that you were selling prior somewhat irrelevant.
Right. Yeah. And also like to sort of not be laughed out of that call, right? Was powerful. Yeah. And so, yeah, as of this recording, the conversation is still ongoing, but I do know for certain that it will be a larger package than this past year, that it will be more supportive, and it's going to allow me to focus so much more care and energy and brain power and creativity and strategy for her, because I will have that financial space and also that capacity space in my calendar. So I know that that's going to be an outcome of this. We're still sort of fine tuning all the details, but yeah, that's just, it feels amazing to know that like I can actually take a steady salary next year. And so I can show up for myself and for her and for any other client that I have just at my best.
Yeah, with more space.
Yeah.
One of my biggest complaints with the online business culture is this small offer stuff. We started the call and you said, yeah, you always say it's just as hard to sell a small offer as it is to sell a large offer. And the amount of volume that's required to sell some of those smaller packaged offers. But what's so intoxicating, it's like sex and candy for women, is that they're small offers.
Yeah.
You get to be small in your confidence and in your self-belief and in your work to sell them. You don't have to actively and proactively engage in some of the harder parts of sales around your emotional capacity, your self-confidence, your self-trust, and all of those things. So I'd love to hear you speak to that and who you became in the process, which is why I didn't care so much about whether or not you actually got it, but I cared about who you became.
Yeah. It's interesting. For basically 2017 until quite recently, maybe in the last couple of years, there was one refrain we kept hearing from different people, we being my business partner and myself, Jesse. So this would be from coaches. It would be from our friends in entrepreneurship. It would be from friends outside of it, family members, right? People who kind of we would disclose a little bit of what was going on in the business. And the refrain was always, "You're playing small." And we were like, I remember almost breaking down at one point saying, what does that mean? Because I was like, what? But okay, so what should I do then? Right. And of course, like nobody could tell me what that thing was, because we had to figure it out for ourselves and for the business. And I think it could have meant a lot of different things, but ultimately it is taking a look at that mindset, that residual mindset that I talked about that a lot of writers have, but I think just a lot of people have, right? Of like, you're never going to make money at this. You need a plan B. So you're like never quite giving your all to it and you're not expecting much out of it. So I think it's just been really tackling that for starters. Second, that audience research was supremely helpful in hearing from real actual people who have really actually invested in working with our company what is valuable about the work that we do.
You were a little dragging your feet on that, if I remember in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. We ended up having 18 calls. So we did quite a lot by the end and just got amazing data out of it. And also just, it was lovely to like have those conversations with people, but like to just hear from them, like why it's powerful and why it's valuable, I think was just really eye-opening because it's the stuff, it's, when someone is an expert at something, that feels easy to them and they forget that it's not easy to other people or that they don't have the space for it, whatever that means for them, like whether it's their time or energy or whatever. So, or the confidence in it. So just remembering that like, hey, there's this thing that we do quite naturally that is valuable for other people was supremely validating. And then I think the other part of this that was a big shift was how we talk about ourselves. We're not leading with we're copywriters anymore. I think that's a highly respectable position. I think it's something it's critical to the work that we do. And I think having that expertise makes us better at the strategy work that we do. And also to be able to approach people and say, we're your partner in talking about and figuring out how content can actually support your business goals is so much more powerful than I'm going to write a blog post for you. We may still write the blog post, but it's the why behind it, right? And so honestly, just shifting how we're even introducing ourselves has been a way of stepping out of playing small and stepping into really embodying and talking about that expertise and the value that it brings.
Yeah. So understanding the buyer psychology and why your people buy. And then I think what that allowed you to do was shift your services to the right or to the best target market that would allow you to be compensated in a way that you absolutely should be compensated. I think we see a lot in the online space around selling a great service that should be valued way higher to too entry level of a market, of a customer segment.
Yeah.
And like really then hamstringing yourself and getting very frustrated because you're selling something that should be worth more that maybe that person doesn't need in that way. And so therefore isn't valued at the level that it should be valued from both parties.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, it's really nerve-wracking to see yourself standing shoulder to shoulder with some people who you very much admire, who you think are playing a much bigger game, right? That imposter syndrome, that who am I to, that lack of confidence. We all get that. I get that. Yeah. And what I love is that like once you ratchet that up a little bit, so like now you're standing next to this woman shoulder to shoulder and you presented this package, right? There's somebody else beyond that. There's always a stretch and you've stretched once. Marie's like, don't make me do this.
I'm like, I haven't thought about this yet. I haven't thought about this yet.
So once you've stretched once, you can stretch again. Right. And it's so important. I think programs like the Bold Profit Academy are so important to help women or people in general just get out of their own entrenched neural pathway and to create a new one. So Marie's now creating that new neural pathway that says she can create six-figure offers. All right. As we wrap up here, who should be joining the Bold Profit Academy and what can they expect when they join?
Yeah. So, I mean, using, I guess, myself as a guide, I guess, for that, because I feel like it's been so supremely helpful for me. I had experience, I had confidence, what I would have defined as confidence, right, in my ability, right? So I think a woman like that, right, who you're not just learning how to do this thing.
Jesse and Marie wrote a fiction novel.
That's true. We did.
And they've been in business for 12 years. They're pretty epic.
Oh, thank you. And so there is like a level of confidence and ability, right? That is there. The lack of confidence, I don't even know that I would have recognized it in things like sales, but I think it showed up in that question of, is my business model broken for me? Right. So is there something in that person's business that is keeping them from taking home the income, personal income that they're looking for? Is there something that is keeping them small? Have they been told that by people? Right.
Are they curious as to what that means? Because Tara will tell you exactly what that means. She'll show you. She won't tell you. She'll show you.
She'll guide you
with
so that you discover it for yourself, and then you're not like, no. And I think also those relationships that you have with the people that you work with, you suspect maybe that there's more opportunity to serve them higher level and to receive from them at a higher level, but you don't really quite know how to do that because you already feel like you're pushing up against a roof that is uncomfortable. And so there is a way to do that. It's just a matter of having the tools, the confidence, the talking points, the support, essentially, to be able to be equipped to figure out what does that look like and how do I communicate that?
Now, what if somebody were to say, because I get this a lot, and I was actually talked about this on another case story, but remember the Chinese finger thing that you used to put your fingers in, in
the finger trap, right?
Yeah, the finger trap, right? That you get at the carnivals.
Yeah.
I see people doing this. It's I don't have the revenue that I need to invest, but I know I need to invest to get my revenue up. And now we're in the finger lock and we can't break it.
Yeah.
And I know that you can relate to that in some way, because I don't think that you guys had this investment all figured out when you got here.
No.
So,
but we knew you, we trusted you, and our trust was well rewarded.
So what would you say to people who are in this finger lock and they're like, I can't get out?
I mean, first of all, I reiterate, we saved $7,000.
Yeah.
Listen, it hasn't paid for itself.
I will fully own the fact that the way we onboard people with those lessons is my pride and joy for this very reason. We got you. We're with you. We want you to succeed.
So I don't know that everybody is able to do that necessarily. I mean, maybe obviously we were overspending in certain areas quite a bit. But I think the other part of it too is that what is staying stuck gaining you, right? As a wise friend of mine, Lisa Carpenter, likes to ask me. And where is the confidence that continuing to do the same thing, continuing to sort of hit your head against the wall, or go to the gurus who have another, formula for you to try is going to be the answer, right? That there's actually something deeper going on here. And that doesn't mean it has to be scary, but it's just probably something we're not seeing. And having that perspective from someone who's wise and experienced in business and also in the emotional stuff that goes along with business is, the value of that cannot be understated or overstated. So again, it's that, are you going to stay stuck or try something new that is a deeper, more direct stepping stone in a community that's super supportive? Yeah,
we supported you through a lot of big emotions this year. I'm not going to obviously
even
share.
like gone through.
I'm not
them.
going to share because that's not my story to share. But I mean, you achieved this probably. Would you say this might have been one of the harder years of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like just for personal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It was big stuff. It taught me things about coaching and about working with people, working with women around money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to be transparent and say, like, listen, like Marie and I are sitting here on the other side of this laughing. But there were some real moments this year for both of us. Right.
Right. And I mean, this isn't just because I want to have a business that allows me to go to Trader Joe's on Monday at noon. This is also like, I'm a single income household with obligations, and this is my livelihood, right? So it's there's not really much to fall back on. Okay, I do have like extremely kind, supportive family and friends, so like I know I'm not going to end up like in a very dire situation, but yeah, I mean it's definitely one of those things where like this is important to me to figure out. And it's not just important, it's necessary for me to figure it out. So that's another thing I think that was a takeaway from this year is like kind of when your back's against the wall, like you were saying, right? You are at your boldest. Though I think that's a direct quote from you, right? But like that's sort of part of what gave me the courage to make that big ask this year. And I think now that I have done that and broached that, I can do it again because I know I didn't die the first time. Right?
Yeah. I think that if you're not letting yourself feel the weight of what is happening, honestly, you're missing an opportunity where constraint breeds creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that was definitely a part of your year, is that the constraint brought a lot of creativity for you.
Yes, definitely.
So I read this article on LinkedIn. LinkedIn did some research. Horrified, hate research on women in business and money. It like keeps me up at night, legitimately. You know this about me, that for the first time in years, we're now moving the needle backward on yet another barometer for women and money, which now is saying now we have women exiting entrepreneurship, which you and I are not surprised with at all. No. That we're seeing a dwindling number of women in entrepreneurship, and that we're now going in reverse for the first time in years. And this is combined with all the other metrics on women right now that are just grim. They're going in reverse so quickly from the pandemic and the associated fallout with that and financial pressure and everything. So I'm going to put you on the spot, but like, there are women who are going to be listening to this that are in that position, who are in the position of where you were this year, where you were strongly considering, like, what are my options? Words of wisdom, inspiration.
I mean,
witnessing.
Yeah. I guess I want to say, like, there's no judgment here, right? Like, first of all, like, our survival and more than that, ability to thrive is the most important thing. So if exiting ends up being the way to do that, like, you know what, like, take care of you. Like, it does not make you less of a creative, strong individual, driven individual. And also there's still, I think, just unprecedented ability for women to thrive and claim their freedom on their own path. Sometimes that feels difficult to impossible. And that is why having support and systems and gentle, loving prods are just so important for that process. Because like sometimes we are just spent, I think I don't even have children, but like I can't imagine, like, between taking care of kids, taking care of the business, supporting the family, like cleaning the house, if you have a partner, like, making time for them, like all the things, ailing parents, like there's a million things on the shoulders of those of us who carry the emotional labor. And so to be able to create that freedom is just really powerful. And we deserve to get paid for our work. And if we're going to be doing that on our own, we deserve to have the tools to have those conversations so that we can make that a possibility.
I'm going to ask you one more question because I remember something you said to me. You're like, this is hard. When we were going through the offers and the sales and the selling and the market research, you're like, this is a lot. This is hard. But and I know we're through some of that now. Have we made it any easier on you? Yes. It could be a no.
Yes. I think what's difficult is at this perspective where I am now is the limbo, right? Where you're like, now I am in a shifting place where we have new offers, but we are maintaining the revenue with our prior offers that are still bringing that in, right? And so we're just in a bit of it's like when the pendulum swings, you're at the bottom and it's about to swing up the other way and just hasn't started yet. So it's kind of like you're feeling like you want to be in the future, right? It's like when you're moving a house and you just like want to be done and unboxed, right? So I think that has been difficult, but doing the research actually ended up being super fun. Having the data is super powerful. We're now going to be leveraging that with some SEO. I think it's really paving yes, there's still work in the setup, but it's paving the way towards a business that does have greater ease for us and actually fulfills a real need of our clients. So, that's important.
Yeah, I love that, right? About actually meeting the client's needs and getting to make more money in the process.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Marie, I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming and sharing this with us.
Thank you so much, Tara. And not just for this time, but for your mentorship and support this year.
I received that. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.